Address the first last claim, as the teachers are not at fault for the reason being why public schools are failing. My evidence proves different. Teachers are not prepared for a new century of higher academic expectations. The reports show that teachers do not adequately prepare for education reform by Scott Arwin's 2010, the journal. The 3 R's of reforming schools: rigor, relevance, and relationships. Set a higher bar for teachers and principals alike, and have implications for teacher preparation, professional development, and ways in which schools are organized. Now this would be good if everything would work out the plan. Rather, the principals of the entire California districts combined show that the report has also indicated a gap in principals' perception of teachers' qualifications along with economic lines. Principals in 78% of California's most affluent high schools reported that a majority of their teachers possess the skills necessary for an effective 21st century learning grade. Only possess 48% of those teachers that are able to do that. Also, I want to move on to the augmentation of the school voucher system would create a huge investment already put into place by the state to the families that are currently not able to invest into their children's education. Even though many of these parents want to invest in their child or children's education, many families have to prioritize in a way that does not allow them to set aside the funds necessary to enhance their child's relationship. While California schools cannot provide the education that is needed to prepare for students for schooling, according to her first plan, teachers are not prepared in a new century of higher academic expectations, as I proved. California's school curriculum does not adequately provide enough resources to accommodate towards classes necessary for college preparation, as my second claim. California is facing a massive educational deficit, said John Rogers, director of IDEA, an associate professor of a graduate school, speaking at a telephone press conference, that his parents worried California parents were concerned about differences across schools throughout the state, and about the gap between California schools and those from other states, i.e. Florida, Tennessee, Texas, even Michigan, who has just recently opened up a voucher system. These findings are reflected in an in-depth look at California's high school class of 2006. Only 2/3 of these students graduated from the 9th grade class, due to, at least in part, the fact that 2/3 of the state's schools fail to offer enough classes to qualify them for even college preparation. My second claim. Why is the cost of schooling a commodity that either inhibits or increases educational outcome? California schools are underfunded compared to private schools due to the political aspect of public education. As shown in the Great Schools Catalog, the most obvious discrepancy between public and private schools comes down to cold, hard cash. The good news for parents is that public schools cannot change tuition. The bad news is that public schools are complicated, often underfunded operations influenced by political wins and shortcuts. Financed through federal, state, and local taxes, public schools are part of the regulations set by policies. In contrast, private schools must generate their own funding from their alumni, from their students' tuition, from grants, and from fundraisers through to the parents. This idea allows a constant change for private schools that can allot towards away from public schools. This means that a private school can come up with the funds necessary to increase the technology, increase the textbooks, get rid of away from the shortcomings from the budget cuts that have recently happened on the public schools, and can still increase our educational system for the public schools. When I go back into the budget cuts, California schools were feeling the brunt of the residual tax for the last 10 years. The first main factor I'm not even going to bring up, the idea that teachers have lost in income. That's not even necessary. The idea is that less is spent on employee benefits. Many school districts pay for a part of teachers' benefits. The amount that school districts are able to pay typically suffers under budget cuts. Fewer resources spent on materials. One of the things that go with budget cuts is the material allotment fund that teachers receive every year. It's usually an annual of $200 at the beginning of the year. They usually spend it on paper, printing, some wall stuff, educational material. That's school-wide material for technology purchases. This may not be the most important one, but with the new changing environment and the new changing class in society, education must involve technology. Delays for new textbooks. Many teachers have outdated textbooks, and many geography classes have stated they have books that are 10 to 15 years old. along with a lot of history classes, which that means the past 3 presidents aren't even involved in that book. Many geology teachers refuse to even use their textbook in high school. Less professional development opportunities. While this might not seem like a big deal to some, the truth is that teaching, just like any profession, becomes stagnant without a continual self-improvement plan. And since teachers no longer have the amount of conferences that they used to have due to budget cuts, they no longer are able to provide to their students. Fewer electives. Public schools are facing budget cuts that typically begin by cutting their electives and either moving teachers to core subjects or eliminating their positions entirely. Contrast to private schools, in which private schools continuously build up their electives and continuously build up extracurricular activities that help students get to college. California has a saying for most of its residents, and I'm pretty sure most of you have heard it. California leads the way and will continue to lead the way. The idea is this, that the voucher program is built as a way for poor people or middle-class kids to attend the same outstanding private schools as rich kids. This idea is not controversial as it once seemed. Indiana lawmakers recently adopted a statewide voucher system that will begin this year and will eventually give most kids in the state the opportunity to use government's funding to enhance their education through private education. Much more courts have been viewing this situation the same way, as reported on the Michigan News Post. So Michigan is the first test for a school voucher system. I believe because our school public system has been embedded on us since we were kindergarten or even first grade, that we are afraid of change. But change is a good thing and is a necessary thing.